Nathan Gallagher hadn't cried in nearly 2 years, not at the funeral. Not during the reading of Emily's will, not even the night he came home from the hospital to an empty house filled with memories. But something about this morning soft. June sunlight pouring over the quiet cul-de-sac, the scent of cedar and earth rising from the freshly dug patch of lawn forced the tears out. His hands shook as he tightened the final bolt on the wrought iron bench, brushing away a smear of grease with the sleeve of his flannel shirt. The plaque was simple, just how Emily would have liked it. In loving memory of Emily Gallagher, a place to rest, remember, and smile. He'd chosen the spot carefully, just beneath the old sycamore she used to read under, in the front yard where she once planted snapdragons and waved at neighbors. She loved this neighborhood. At least she had before Brenda Hutchinson became president of the HOA. He was still kneeling, lost in memory, when her voice slashed through the quiet like a blade. "You'll need to remove that bench immediately." Nathan looked up, blinking against the sun. Brenda stood at the edge of his lawn, clipboard in hand like always, her oversized sunglasses reflecting his silhouette. She wore her signature color powder, blue, and the same cold smirk that turned every conversation into a confrontation. It violates Oakwood Subdivision's Community Appearance Clause. Article 7.30 unapproved personal structures within 10 feet of the sidewalk. He stood slowly. "It's a memorial bench, Brenda, for my wife. She died." "I know she died," she interrupted, already scribbling on her pad. "And I'm sorry for your loss. But emotional circumstances don't override HOA bylaws. You should have submitted an application through proper channels." "I did, twice," Nathan said, holding her gaze. "You denied both, no reason given." "Well then, you should have taken the hint." She ripped the notice off her clipboard with a satisfying tear and held it out. "You have 7 days to remove it. After that, the HOA reserves the right to fine you $50 per day and pursue legal enforcement." Nathan didn't move, his hand curled into a fist by his side. "This is ridiculous. No, it's policy. And frankly, your attitude is making things worse for you." She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice to a whisper. "You think you're special because your wife died? Everyone here has lost someone. What makes you think grief gives you a pass?"
His jaw clenched. She helped build this community. And
"Now she's gone," Brenda said, stepping back. "Time to move on." She turned and walked away with mechanical poise, heels clicking on the pavement. Nathan watched her retreat, the notice trembling in his hand. That's when he noticed something strange. The document didn't just list the bench violation. There were 15 other infractions: weeds near the mailbox, paint peeling on the fence, a supposed code issue with his garage light. The total in fines? $8,500. But what truly chilled him was the date, yesterday, before she even came to speak with him. His fingers ran across the corner of the paper,
catching on the embossed HOA logo. Something wasn't right.
Brenda had always been controlling. But this felt premeditated. He walked inside, locking the door behind him, and laid the notice on the dining table beside the untouched remains of breakfast. He stared at it, then pulled out the folder Emily kept with all their HOA documents. The bylaws hadn't changed in years. And nowhere did it say anything about memorial benches or $8,500 fines. He pulled out his laptop. If Brenda was pulling strings behind the scenes, there had to be a trail. Emails, meeting minutes, shell. Companies. He didn't know what he was looking for yet, but he knew how to find it. Emily used to joke that his stubbornness was his superpower. Now that same stubbornness ignited something deep within him: rage, yes, but something colder too. A drive to expose whatever Brenda was hiding. A soft knock at the door startled him. He opened it cautiously to find his neighbor, Greg Stevens, nervously holding a to-go coffee cup. "Hey, man, I heard her yelling earlier about the bench." "That's messed up," Nathan nodded. "Yeah, she says I owe $8,000 now." Greg's eyes widened. "She's doing it again. What do you mean?" "She did the same thing to the Fergusons last year. Fined them out of their house. Said their roof color was non-compliant. They couldn't keep up with the fees and, well, they moved out, fast. Weird thing is Brenda's nephew bought that house 2 weeks later. Paid cash." A chill prickled Nathan's skin. "Wait, what? Greg nodded grimly. And it's not just them. There's a pattern. 5 houses. In the last 18 months. All owners pressured, fined, then gone. And every one of those homes got flipped by this company called BH Property Management. The? Nathan repeated. Brenda Hutchinson? Greg nodded again. People are scared to talk. She's got power here. Nathan looked back at the notice on the table. 15 fake violations. A bench he installed out of love. And a woman who didn't flinch when lying to his face. This wasn't about aesthetics. It wasn't about community standards, it was about control. And theft? Thanks, Greg, he said. I'll handle it. That night, Nathan couldn't sleep. He sat outside beside the bench, running his hand over the curved armrest, the initials. Carved into the side EG, he remembered Emily's voice, her laughter. He remembered how she used to say, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time."
He should have believed Brenda long ago. Now it was time to fight.
Back. Nathan barely slept. By dawn, his mind had turned into a war room whiteboards and string in his thoughts. Every strange thing Brenda had ever said or done now part of a larger, more disturbing picture. He sipped burnt coffee at the kitchen table, the HOA violation still sitting like a rotting fruit beside his laptop. His late wife had once told him, half laughing, "You missed your calling as a detective." He hadn't missed it, he'd just never had a reason to investigate. Until now. By 9 a.m., Nathan had combed through the HOA website, tax records, and online property databases. BH Property Management LLC, the company Greg mentioned, was registered to a P.O. box in Nevada, a common tactic to dodge transparency. The listed contact person? W. Chun, with a disconnected phone number. No website, no reviews. But the addresses didn't lie. 6 homes in Oakwood had quietly changed hands to be H. Over the past 2 years, all after accumulating absurd HOA fines and threats of foreclosure. He printed the documents and circled the dates. All of them followed the same pattern. Citation gives violation stat date. Expedited foreclosure gives BH acquisition. Nathan leaned back in his chair, heart pounding. This wasn't just Brenda being petty or power hungry. It was a coordinated scam. He clicked into the county clerk's online records, digging through PDFs until something caught his eye. A digital signature on one of the property liens, W. Chun. CPA. Nathan reached for the landline. He still used one. Emily had insisted they never get rid of it, and dialed the number listed on the last tax filing BH Property submitted.
After
4 rings, someone answered with a hoarse, whispered voice. Chun speaking. "Mr. Chun, my name is Nathan Gallagher. I live in Oakwood. I think I need to talk to you about BH Property Management." A pause. "I don't work for them anymore," the voice said quickly. "This line isn't secure. I shouldn't be speaking to you. I just need to know what they're doing," Nathan said. "Please, I think my wife died investigating them." Silence again, longer this time. "Then, do you know about Phase 3? "What? Get out before they move you to the Phase 3 list. If you're on it, you don't just lose your house, you disappear into paperwork. It's not just Brenda. She's a pawn." The woman? "Behind this, she has real power." Nathan felt his stomach knock. "Who is she?" "I don't say her name. She has people who watch." "Listen, trust me, you're already on their radar now." "What about Emily?" "My wife. You'll want to check the records for Oakwood Phase 1 construction permits, about 8 years ago. And then cross-reference it with Oakwood Psychiatric Hospital." He lowered his voice. "Emily requested the same documents. She just didn't realize how deep it went." The call ended before Nathan could ask anything more. By noon, Nathan had printed everything: property transfers, architectural plans, emails between residents and the HOA. One file in particular stood out. Emily's name, tied to a request for development records. She had sent it through a law firm anonymously, but Nathan recognized her. Careful phrasing, she'd known. He was staring at the papers when the front door opened without a knock. He jolted. "Dad?" It was Sophia's daughter. Tall, sharp, poised. She wore a dark jacket over her jeans, a phone already in her hand as she surveyed the chaos of paper on the table. "Sophie?" What are you doing here? I got your voicemail. About the fines and the bench. She eyed the documents, her brow furrowing. You've been digging. You know me. I also know this look. She moved closer. You're in deeper than you think. I need you to stop. Nathan stared at her. What do you mean? She sighed, closing the folder in front of him. Dad, what you're looking into, it's sensitive. You knew? He asked, his voice sharp. You knew. Something was wrong here and didn't tell me. I didn't want you getting hurt. Emily was looking into this before she died. Did you know that? Sophie's eyes dropped. Yeah, Nathan reeled. So you've been investigating too? Sophie stepped back, not officially. The Bureau had some irregular reports cases flagged in neighborhoods across the county. Illegal foreclosures, fraud, then one day, your HOA pops up in a side briefing under the codename Oakwood Phase 3. Nathan froze. That's what Chun said. Sophie nodded. Phase 3 isn't about development. It's about removal. People who push back too hard, they don't just get fined, they're discredited, bankrupted, erased. Nathan felt his breath catch. And you've known this since when? Months. She lowered her voice. But I couldn't do anything without blowing my cover. I'm not even supposed to be talking to you about it. But you are. Because your name was just added to Phase 3. Sophie pulled a folded paper from her jacket and slid it across the table. A screenshot of an internal memo. Nathan's name, address, and a status label. Active engagement, final notice issued. Nathan blinked. This is real. Yes. And now I need you to do something for me. She grabbed his arm. Pack a bag. You might need to leave the house tonight. He stared at her. You're serious? Sophie's voice dropped to a whisper. She's coming, Brenda. Nathan looked out the front window. The street was quiet, too quiet. The same way it had been the night Emily died. The air outside had gone still. Not quiet still, like the moment before a thunderclap or a gunshot. Nathan watched through the living room window as a blue Lexus crawled down the street, tires barely making a sound. It stopped in front of his house. The driver's side door swung open. Brenda Hutchinson stepped out, dressed in her HOA regulation cardigan and kitten heels. But this time she wasn't holding her clipboard. She was holding a gun. Nathan's heart jumped into his throat. She has a weapon. Sophie had already moved. Calm and swift, she unzipped the duffel she brought in minutes ago.
Inside, a badge, her firearm.
And a slim black folder marked Federal Property Do Not Remove. I'm taking point, she said, voice low. You stay inside unless I call. This is no longer about HOA fines. This is federal obstruction and armed trespass. Nathan stood frozen as she holstered her weapon, slid the badge into her jacket pocket, and strode outside. Brenda was already halfway up the walkway, waving the pistol wildly and shouting, "You don't scare me, Sophie. I know who you really work for. You're part of it, this whole damn mess." Sophie held her hands out, non-threatening but firm. Brenda, put the weapon down. You're trespassing. You're threatening a civilian. You're moments away from multiple felonies. Civilians? Brenda barked a deranged laugh. There are no civilians in this war. Only liars and pawns. That bench, she pointed the gun directly at it, is the last line of defiance. That woman tried to expose everything. And your father doesn't even know the truth, does he? Nathan cracked the front door open, inch by inch. Sophie kept her eyes on Brenda, calm but firm. Emily died in a car crash. Brenda's eyes twitched. Is that what he told you? What they told you? She raised the gun toward the door. Come out, Nathan. You should hear this, Sophie barked. Put that gun down now. But Nathan had already stepped out. His voice was soft but steady. You killed her. Brenda's grip on the gun trembled. I gave her 72 hours. Told her to drop the Oakwood files. Stop asking about Phase 3. She wouldn't listen. You're confessing, Sophie said, stepping slowly to the side. There are body cams in my jacket. Everything you're saying is being recorded. Brenda didn't care. Her pupils were wild, sweat glistening on her forehead. Emily was smarter than all of us. She found the patient records. The photos, she found Sandra. Sophie blinked.
Sandra Morrison, Emily's best friend? Brenda nodded.
That woman didn't die in a car crash like they said. She went underground. She became something else. She calls herself the architect, Sophie whispered. Brenda lowered. The gun an inch. You don't get it, none of you do. Sandra isn't just running Oakwood. She built it. The HOA, the hospital, the adoptions, the paper trails, it all connects back to her. You think I'm the villain? I'm a damn errand girl. Nathan stepped forward, inch by inch, locking eyes with Brenda. You pulled a gun on my daughter over a bench. That's a mistake you'll regret for the rest of your life. Brenda's hands started to shake harder. You don't understand. Sandra, she sees everything. She's watching right now. Sophie's voice was razor sharp. Drop the weapon, Brenda. I tried to warn Emily. Brenda screamed, and finally her knees buckled. The gun dropped into the grass, and she collapsed onto the lawn, sobbing. She didn't listen, and now she's dead. You're next. Police sirens wailed down the road. Sophie's back up. Within seconds, squad cars lined the street. Officers swarmed in. Brenda didn't resist. She sat numbly on the grass, hands above her head, murmuring the same line over and over. She's watching. She's watching. She's watching. Nathan stood frozen, breathless, until Sophie came over and gently pulled him back toward the porch. You okay? She asked. He nodded slowly. She said Sandra Morrison's alive. Sophie's jaw tightened. I've heard that name before, but every record says she died 5 years ago in a car crash. Same story they gave for Emily. Nathan looked at her. There were 2 deaths that week, Emily and Sandra. Or 1 death and 1 disappearance, Sophie said. The police led Brenda away in handcuffs. She didn't fight, just kept muttering. That night, Sophie stayed over. Neither of them slept. The house was quiet, the bench untouched. But the calm wasn't comforting, it was tense, full of cracks and silence. Around 3 a.m., Sophie sat up on the couch. Dad, what if Brenda wasn't lying? What if Sandra faked her death and took control of everything from behind the scenes? Nathan turned from the window. Then we're not even close to the end. Sophie nodded. The architect isn't just running a scam. She's erasing people, replacing them. Nathan took a breath, then said what had been gnawing at him since Brenda's confession. She said something else. About you. Sophie raised a brow. What? She said I don't know the truth. Sophie looked at him, not blinking. What? Truth. Sophie. She stood slowly, walked over to her jacket, and pulled out a flash drive. Tomorrow, she said. There's something buried beneath the yellow roses in the backyard. Mom left it there. A box, sealed, the answers inside. The morning sunlight cut sharply across the lawn, making the dew on the yellow roses shimmer like glass. Nathan stared at the flower bed, a shovel in hand, heart pounding. Sophie stood a few feet behind him, arms crossed, her FBI badge clipped. Plainly to her belt like a silent declaration. No more secrets. I planted these for Emily, Nathan muttered, jabbing the shovel into the soil. She loved yellow. Said it reminded her that even in a sad world, something could still be bright. Sophie didn't respond. By the 3rd dig, the shovel hit something solid. A dull metallic thunk. Nathan knelt down and pulled at the corner of a rusted tin box, crusted with years of rain, root, and time. He brushed off the dirt, fingers trembling, and opened it. Inside was a sealed manila envelope, a worn photograph, and a flash drive. The photo nearly stopped his heart. Emily, holding a newborn. But not in a hospital bed in a cold, sterile room with exposed cinder-block walls and a badge clipped to her shirt that read Oakwood Psychiatric Hospital, temporary visitor. Emily's eyes weren't joyful in the picture. They were scared, haunted. Sophie reached for the envelope, opening it carefully. Inside were medical records, 2 birth certificates, one for Sophie Gallagher, and one for a child listed only as baby girl Morrison. Nathan sat on the grass, stunned. What the hell is this? Sophie read silently, then said, Mom gave birth to a baby girl, that part's real. But the certificate says she was stillborn. Nathan blinked. But that doesn't make sense. You're standing right here. Sophie looked up at him. Her voice was quiet. That's because I'm not that baby. The words hung in the air, heavy and thick. I found out when I was 16, Sophie continued, barely above a whisper. I took Mom's laptop to write a school paper. Found an encrypted folder. I cracked the password Yellow Roses. I guess she thought I wouldn't try hard enough to get in. But I did. Nathan's face crumpled in disbelief. Why didn't you tell me? Because Mom begged me not to. She left a video, said it was too dangerous that you didn't know. And that keeping quiet was the only way to keep you safe. Nathan sat back, gripping the envelope. Safe from who? Sophie looked at him grimly. From the architect. From Sandra Morrison. Nathan shook his head. But Sandra died. No, Sophie said. She disappeared the same day the adoption went through. Look. She handed him a 4-man emergency custody transfer dated exactly 3 hours after Emily's stillbirth. It bore Sandra's signature, and one more. Brenda Hutchinson. As the notary, Nathan's hands trembled. This is human trafficking, Sophie nodded. Mom found out Oakwood Hospital was running a secret adoption ring, mostly under-the-table arrangements for wealthy, connected clients. Mothers with mental health issues, addicts, even women pressured into signing their rights away. Babies were funneled through fake agencies, given to families, some desperate, others complicit. Nathan stared down at the birth certificate for baby girl A. Morrison, Sophie said softly, that's me. Sandra's biological daughter. Emily adopted me the day she lost her own baby. Nathan felt like the world was tilting beneath him, but Emily never treated me like anything less than hers. Sophie said, voice tightening. She loved me, fiercely, enough to risk her life trying to take down the people who gave me away like I was property. Nathan wiped his face. I don't care whose blood runs in your veins. You're my daughter. You've always been my daughter. Sophie looked away for a moment. There's more. She pulled up the contents of the flash drive on her laptop. Dozens of documents, bank transfers, architectural blueprints, HO illegal templates. But one folder was titled, The Architect. Inside were photos of Sandra, recent ones. One showed her walking out of a private jet hangar. Another, more recent, had her standing in front of a modest suburban home with a smiling couple and child. She's alive, Sophie confirmed. She's been using her influence behind the scenes, pulling strings, erasing records, rebuilding her identity. She created BH Property Management, installed Brenda as her front-facing puppet, and used HOA law as a legal framework for organized theft. Nathan looked at the images, mouth dry. She's not just scamming people, she's stealing their lives. Sophie clicked on a final video file. Emily sat in front of a camera. Her hair was tied back, her eyes rimmed with dark circles, but her voice was steady. If you're watching this, it means I didn't make it, Emily began. I hope to God I'm wrong, but I've seen the paperwork. I've traced the signatures. Sandra is alive. She's taken Sophie's past and rewritten it. I've tried to stop her, but she's everywhere. Nathan, I love you. And Sophie, if you ever doubt where you belong, don't. Blood doesn't make a family. Love does, and I chose you every day, no matter how you came into this world. You are mine. The screen faded to black. Nathan sat in silence, tears streaming freely down his cheeks. Then, a knock at the door. Sophie grabbed her weapon. Nathan stepped forward, cautiously opening it, and there she stood. Sandra Morrison. Older now, her blonde hair clipped short, face calm, cold, almost kind. She carried no weapon, only a manila folder in her hand. Hello, Nathan, she said. I think it's time we talk. As a family. Nathan stared at Sandra Morrison like she'd stepped out of a nightmare. She looked nothing like the woman Emily once described, vibrant, artistic, loyal. This Sandra was composed, calculated, and cold. Her eyes scanned the room with quiet ownership, as if she was taking inventory. Sophie didn't wait. She drew her badge and held it high. Sandra Morrison, you're under investigation for conspiracy, racketeering, identity fraud, and human trafficking. Sandra smiled. I'm not here to run, or to fight. She held up the manila folder slowly. I came to tell the truth. Whether you like it or not. Sophie didn't lower her weapon. Say one wrong word and I put you on the ground. Nathan placed a hand gently on her arm. Let her speak. We end this now. Sandra stepped into the living room, still eerily calm. I faked my death because I had to. The people I worked with, corrupt doctors, real estate developers. The state licensing board, they wanted to bury Oakwood Psychiatric's crimes with 21 patients dead. 13 babies taken without consent. We were warned. Disappear or be disappeared. So you became the architect? Sophie said flatly. Sandra didn't deny it. I took control of what I could. I built a system where I could protect certain people and punish others. Punish? Nathan echoed. You mean manipulate, extort, and destroy lives? Do you think Emily didn't do the same? Sandra asked, eyes narrowing. She knew everything, yet she kept you in the dark. She let you raise a child that wasn't biologically hers? Not a word of it for 16 years. Because she loved me, Sophie snapped. She lied to you, Sandra replied coolly. You were never Emily's to protect. I was exactly hers, Sophie said, her voice low, firm. She chose me. You didn't? That struck a nerve. Sandra's eyes hardened. You were my daughter. No, Sophie said. I was your mistake. Emily was my miracle. The silence that followed was suffocating. Nathan broke it. Why did you come here, Sandra? To offer you the files, she said, sliding the manila folder onto the coffee table. Names, accounts, a full list of Phase 3 targets. If I go down, I want to take the rest of them with me. You think this gets you leniency? Sophie asked. I think it buys me the truth, Sandra replied. I've lived a lie long enough. Sophie looked at the folder, then at Sandra. You're under arrest, Sandra nodded. I figured. She didn't resist as Sophie read her Miranda rights and cuffed her. Sandra's face remained unreadable, but Nathan swore he saw something flicker, maybe relief, maybe regret. Maybe. Nothing at all. 3 weeks later, the headlines exploded. FBI cracks adoption ring operating through. Local HOA, dozens of victims identified. Whistleblower daughter played key role in architect's arrest. Oakwood HOA disbanded. Court freezes $18 million in fraudulent assets. Sandra Morrison's arrest kicked off a sweeping investigation. Several former officials, doctors, and real estate agents were taken in. The records she left behind told everything: the stolen babies, the psychological manipulation, the people threatened into silence. Nathan gave a public statement once. He stood at the memorial bench, media cameras rolling, and simply said, "This bench was built to remember someone. Now it will stand to remind others that silence is not peace." Sophie was cleared to return to duty, though her name became known in the press as the FBI agent raised by the very woman she was stolen from. It should have felt like betrayal, like unraveling, but it didn't. The truth had landed hard. But it also brought clarity. 1 month later, Nathan sat on the bench. A letter in his hands, Emily's final letter, found in the back of that rusted tin box. Her handwriting was careful, each word etched with love and guilt. Sophie, I don't know when you'll find this. I don't know if I'll still be here. But if I'm gone, it means the truth caught up with me before I could finish what I started. You are not my daughter by blood. But you are my daughter in every way that matters. I chose you. I fought for you. I loved you with the kind of love that never asks for anything back. Forgive me for keeping secrets. Forgive me for dying before I could tell you face to face. You are my greatest joy. Not by birth, by choice. Sophie sat down beside Nathan, reading over his shoulder. Her eyes were misted, but her shoulders were steady. Do you regret it? She asked. What? Raising me. Never knowing the whole story. He looked at her like she'd asked whether water was wet. Sophie, if I had known everything back, then I still would have picked you up in that hospital and taken you home. She smiled softly. Then I guess she was right. The family we choose is stronger than the family we're born into, he finished. They sat together in silence beneath the sycamore tree. The yellow roses bloomed brighter than ever. Final twist, optional epilogue. As Nathan watered the flowers later that afternoon, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. A woman's voice, smooth, composed, came through. Mr. Gallagher, this is special. Agent Claire Hart. I'm calling from the Internal Investigations Unit. Nathan straightened. Yes? We've reviewed everything related to Sandra Morrison. But there's one document she never submitted, a name listed on the Phase 0 list. Phase 0? The beginning, she said. The first target. Someone who saw everything before it started. We believe that person might have helped her build the system, possibly even loved her. Nathan's stomach sank. Who? A pause. Then Emily Gallagher.